Welcome back to the channel Bookworms. So I am bringing you another video today which is dedicated to anticipated releases of this year. So as you know, you've probably seen this already. If not, I will link it in the cards and in the description. But I have posted my video about the anticipated releases that I had for 2023. And I needed a way to hold accountability for actually getting around to these books. And that's where this video comes in. So firstly, I don't exactly know at this point while I'm filming my intro what books I'm going to include from that video or any more anticipated releases from the second half of this year. So who knows, but I do have two to tell you about right now. One of them I am currently reading and the other one I will be picking up soon. So the first one that I am reading is called All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, and this is a mystery thriller type story about a county's first black sheriff. This is the first S.A. Cosby book that I am reading, and I am looking forward to seeing if I am going to enjoy this author. And the second book is Camp Damascus. This book is set around a gay conversion camp. This does sound interesting and has elements of supernatural, maybe the unknown element of fear, but that is everything for this intro, and I will let you go and watch me read. I just want to pop in and give you a quick update on Camp Damascus. So I am like a third of the way through this book now, and at first I was a little bit confused as to why we were going to be following this gay conversion camp when the synopsis says that we're following this character called Rose Darling, who's a devout Christian and lives in the town that's close to Camp Damascus. So she starts to puke up flies after attending her friends' get together at a lake, and they assumed that she just swallowed some larvae, and people were just pushing it off like, oh well, you know, some things happen when you're swimming in the lake, and not to think anything of it. But then she starts to see this demon and the demon's following her, and we kind of get to know her personality throughout the first, at least what I've read so far, and we kind of start to piece together why we're following Rose and Camp Damascus. It's very interesting. I'm really loving where the story's going, and I feel like it's just very heavy on the religion. Rose as a character is kind of starting to unravel, and we're kind of starting to see maybe why Camp Damascus is involved with Rose, and how there's demons now involved, and yeah, the story is now taking a turn. I mean, it didn't start off very well anyway, with her puking out flies, but now we're starting to learn more and the story is developing. I feel like it's going to get a lot better from here. Not that it wasn't good, it's very good, it's very entertaining, it's fast paced. The only thing that makes it slow for me is reading about God and the four testaments or four tenets, but I mean, it's not too much, it doesn't take up too much of the book, so I'm not too disappointed in that, and it's actually quite interesting. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here, and if Camp Damascus is going to start to have an appearance as a character, even though it's a place. I want to know the feel for the camp. I know we had an ad in the story for Camp Damascus, and it made it seem like it was this lovely place where everybody goes and everybody who comes out is absolutely fine and there's nothing wrong going on there. But I feel like that's just a front, and we're going to find out a lot more dark stories and dark elements to Camp Damascus in the later half of this book. So I'm really hopeful that we do. I am quite intrigued, and I'm still intrigued to find out where the story goes from here. So yeah, that is my update for Camp Damascus. It's definitely different. It's an enjoyable horror. It's got a lot of religion in here, as well as queer representation and lots of demons and plot twists. So it did have me very emotional and really wanting to figure out like what is happening to her and how she links to Camp Damascus. That was the biggest thing for me. I was really confused as to what the point was in her being the main character, but it made sense in the end. Well, about a third of the way through this book, it started to make sense. I feel like the way she was written kind of seemed like she was a teen and like naive, but too old in certain circumstances. So I feel like that was a bit weird. Couldn't really grasp what her age bracket was, but we do know that she is 20. She's obviously at college, going to uni. It read very much like a YA book in that circumstance, especially within the dialogue, but it didn't feel like a YA book because of the horror in this. It is, like I say, a very enjoyable horror book that pulls you into the story and makes you root for the character. If you're looking for something quick, this is definitely something to pick up. I would say it's a good introduction into horror as well. So if you were wanting to branch out into different genres, then I think this is definitely a good book to start with. Currently, I am 5 chapters into the story, so I'm not too far into it, but it is going very well. I am really enjoying getting to know the characters and the plotline. I'm going to try and read a couple more chapters today, get further along into this story. It's a crime thriller. It's different. I really love how it's written. It is really good. I'm hoping that I continue to enjoy this story and we continue the fast-paced nature of it and we find out the outcome of the crimes. And I feel like there's going to be some plot twists and things that we don't see coming. So I am very much looking forward to reading about those. It's very difficult to film myself reading the book as I received an e-copy, which I have on my phone, and I am using my phone to record these clips. So it is a bit difficult, but just know I am reading it and I am really happy that I was approved on NetGalley for the copy. So yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to Headline for giving me the chance to read this book for review. So I have now just finished All Listeners Bleed, and wow, it's an incredible story. I think it's the best thriller that I've read so far this year. I really loved the social commentary in this story and how we see the characters develop. It's such an incredible storyline. I feel like my entire time reading this story, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I felt like I was there helping the detectives or the sheriffs figure it out. And I feel like that's such an incredible way of writing. There's not much I can tell you without spoiling the outcome of the book. We followed Titus and his character development throughout this book and how he has his own demons to deal with, and this investigation has kind of helped him develop and really conquer those. And I just love the outcome. It's an incredible read and I would suggest picking it up if you're looking for a new thriller. Mothered is an anticipated release for me. It is part of my video that I did at the start of the year. as Mothered came out in March, and obviously my anticipated releases was like from January through to July or end of June, and this was part of it. So I wanted to finally get around to reading it for this video. And yeah, so Mothered is about Grace, who buys a house, and then the pandemic hits. She is left to worry about not being able to pay her mortgage or the bills, as she loses her job at the salon that she worked at. And then her mother comes up with an idea to move in with her and pay some of the bills and help Grace in that sense, because her second husband had passed away and left Jackie, which is the mum, some money. And Grace obviously takes her up on this because she thinks it will help and it would be nice to connect with her mother again after a long estranged relationship. So I thought this sounded really interesting. The reason why I wanted to pick it up was because of the mother-daughter relationship in this. I read This Is Where We Talk Things Out last year and really loved that estranged mother-daughter relationship dynamic, and I wanted something similar to that, which is why this was on my anticipated releases. And I finally got around to reading it, like I said. The story, I think, was pretty decent. I really love the concept. The mother-daughter relationship, like I said, is definitely a pull for me for this story. And it was really, really good. I thought the pacing in this story was okay. It's kind of slow in parts and gets confusing, but the longer you stick it out, the more reward there is in the end. So it's a really quick read. I read it in 2 days and I was kind of hooked to find out what was happening. I really loved the ending to this story. It was very intriguing, especially with the build up to the end. Grace is going through a lot of issues, and her mum doesn't make life easy for her. There's a lot of like manipulation, I would say, happening between Jackie and Grace. Um, Jackie starts to make Grace think that she's losing her mind, and I feel like the reader, like myself, I was getting very confused when I was reading this, as Grace was getting confused as well. So I felt like I was part of the story. As Grace doesn't know what's happening, we don't know what's happening. Although I will say, I don't enjoy the trope that was used in here, which is like the dream state, where we're not sure if Grace is dreaming or in the awake world. So I didn't really enjoy that aspect. I was confused throughout this, but it wasn't confusing as I couldn't follow the story. It was just I was confused between what was real and what wasn't real. I think that through the epilogue that this could be set up for like a sequel of some sort. Maybe not following the same premise, but a look back through Grace's history and her life to solve the biggest mystery that is yet to be solved in this. And also, I know that some readers might not want to read about the pandemic so soon. So this one is definitely one to be cautious with if it's kind of triggering, because obviously it hasn't been that long, and to be fair, I didn't really enjoy reading that element of it because it felt too soon. But it's still a really good read, and if you're not that sensitive to the pandemic, then yeah, check this one out. So I've now just finished The Nightmare Man. So this book was mentioned in my anticipated releases for 2023. This again came out in January, so another early release, which I've now finally got to read and dedicate towards this video. So I was really hooked on this in the beginning. I listened to this on audio and I feel like the narration was really, really good. it pulled me into the story like straight away, and I was wanting to find out everything possible. And I found that it was very reminiscent of other creepy thrillers that I've read or watched, and I find myself relating it more towards movies and TV shows that I've watched. And I think that's telling in the writing style that this could very much be a movie. So I've pulled similarities from the Nightmare on Elm Street with the whole nightmare man coming to life, and that element of like dreams and things like that. But then also it kind of reminded me of Supernatural in this one episode in season 1 called The Scarecrow. It follows a similar premise where we find out that the Scarecrow is coming to life and is killing people. It was very similar towards those two movies and TV shows, in my opinion. I really loved the plot of this story. It, whilst it uses violence, it doesn't rely on the violent elements of the story. The author created an atmospheric, ominous scene and didn't rely on the gore, which we see a lot in these types of stories recently. So he kept it creepy and scary through the atmosphere and the dread that comes from the Nightmare Man. So, in my personal opinion, I feel like the atmospheric nature of this plot is what makes it ominous and creates that sense of dread. And I really loved reading it. I feel like it was something different from what I've read recently, and it was a welcome surprise. I've rated it 4 stars on Goodreads, so it was one of those better books from my anticipated releases video.
Recording of A House with Good Bones by Kingfisher, narrated by Lisa Brown.
So I've now just finished The House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This is her latest horror release. This one kind of didn't meet my expectations, I'm not gonna lie. And this was one from my anticipated releases video. I didn't vibe very well with the atmosphere in this book. The story I felt was very dragged out. The overall plot of this story, I feel like, could have been sped up. It was such a slow burn, and I was not really enjoying it, to be fair. I think the narration played a part in that. I didn't really vibe with the style that the narration was taking. It's really slow. That's really all I can say. I didn't vibe very well with the style that this book took. And I'm not entirely sure what it was, because it's kind of similar to her previous works in horror, where they're more gothic in writing and slower burns. But for some reason, this one just didn't vibe well. It was screaming What Moves the Dead, which was one of her other books. And for some reason, I loved that one, but I just didn't enjoy House with Good Bones. It's not to say it's not a good book. It is a decent read. The overall plot of this was okay. It's not memorable, but it was okay to read. And yeah, I've given it 3 stars, because it was just average in my opinion. There wasn't anything horrible or horribly wrong with it. I feel like I just read it at the wrong time, and I could probably reread it at some point and see if my opinion changes. But until then, I mean, it's just not something to rant and rave about, I don't think. So unfortunately, that one didn't go down too well, in my opinion. But I think that this definitely has its target audience. Those people who like slower books, something that is reminiscent to Lovecraft. I mean, I adore Lovecraft's work, but for some reason maybe it was the time I read it, I just didn't enjoy this one. But yeah, I mean, if you're into the gothic, then do check this book out. It does have a really twisty ending. I think the book only picked up in the last 30%, and that's when I enjoyed it the most, which isn't really good when you want the whole book to be incredible. So, yeah, I mean, if you're willing and wanting to stick it out, then the last 30% of this book is definitely worth the wait. If this book was any longer, I probably would have DNF'd it. I just couldn't vibe with it. But the ending was decent. It was twisty and different. So yeah, that's all I can say really on House of Good Bones. I wish it was better because I've loved her other works, just not this one, which is unfortunate because I thought she was going to be one of my favourite authors of all time now that I've read a significant amount of her work. So hopefully when they release some more, I'll be able to give those a try and see if I can reinstate Kingfisher as a favourite author. So yeah, that's all I can say really on this book. But do check it out if you're interested. So I think that rounds out this video now. I've read 5 books, 3 from my anticipated releases video, and 2 books from the later half of 2023, which I've been so excited to pick up. And I feel like the ones from the second half of this year have been better in my opinion. So that was Camp Damascus and All the Sinners Bleed. I give both of those 5-star. I thought they were incredible and so unique. But the Nightmare Man, Mothered, and The House with Good Bones, I haven't really enjoyed those as much as I was hoping to. The one that comes out on top would be The Nightmare Man for those set of books. So yeah, that is everything that I need to tell you about these books. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. Let me know what book from 2023 you've enjoyed the most down in the comments. And until next time, keep your pages turning and embrace the darkness. Bye!